New plasma fire spot on my regular walk, and all I'm showing you here is that this is Main Street. That's a Smith's over there. This is like a new Walmart or a Home Depot or something going in, and we're going right back behind there. So my point in showing you the area before we get to the plasma fire I found is to explain that this is a road that I've walked at least 20-30 times. I take a walk every night from 1 to 3 hours. It's just my thing. My point is I walked right past this 20 or 30 times. I don't go looking for this stuff. It kind of finds me. So here's the Home Depot up close, and that grove of trees right there. That's where we're going. And we're still just right off of Main Street. So the reason I've walked past here about 20 times is because this was an unfinished road with just dirt road base on it a few weeks ago, like that one up there still is. And these lamps weren't here and weren't turning on, but they started turning on about a week ago so that I can see the night sky better without these glaring headlights in my eyes or the street lights. I would take this road quite often, but rarely during the day, usually after work, as it's getting dark. And so the other day, as I was passing by this grove of trees here, I decided to go in and check it out. And there's a spring inside there where water's coming up right over here and flowing out that direction. And there's a bunch of plasma fire in there. And I've talked before about how the things with the deepest roots, to me this is just an idea I have, the deeper the root, the more likely it is to get hit by plasma fire. Just like lightning coming down from the sky hits the tallest thing, lightning coming up from the ground hits the deepest thing. And this whole thing... Also, in my previous videos, I've noticed water is associated with plasma fire. Many of the plasma fire spots I stopped alongside the road while I was driving truck had some sort of water by them, whether it was a irrigation creek or a pond or a spring. So not only the deep roots may be the reason that plasma fire struck here, but also the water that goes clear down in the ground may be a conductor of the electricity. A lot of it is all one tree, like that banyan tree in Lahaina where it looks like a bunch of different trees but they're all connected to the same root. I don't know that to be true, but what I am pretty sure of, when we get in here you'll see, these trees are probably over 100 years old, and I'll bet they died within the last 6, 7, 8 years since the plasma fires have started. And a lot of trees are now blowing over in the wind because they recoil their taproot, the one that goes deepest in the ground, works like an anchor. They recoil that, so it collects less of this ground energy. Fluctuation in the magnetic field creates a surge of ground current. And so these trees are toppling over, and they've got a flat bottom with no root ball. I've got 2 videos, one titled Flat Bottom Trees, You Make My Rockin' World Go Round, and the other one says something about late night tree tipping teenagers. You know how like when kids go tip cows in a field? But of course neither of those is the actual reason and answer for what we're seeing here. So the other thing is, what we're about to see proves geomagnetic induction. I just came across this yesterday, and I've only been in this grove of trees for about 15 minutes. There's some of the water there. So maybe this is where we go down in. So there's a spring right here, and it's a nice spring. I'm hoping the lighting today does it justice. Hopefully it'll be good. We got ambient lighting without the glare of the sun. And so this is the pond, this is where it comes out, and it flows out that direction. We'll show, oh, it's a pretty good stream. Maybe it goes out that direction. And so I come down in here, and we got a couple good plasma fire spots right here on this tree. Like I said, probably 100 years old. Look at this giant. Probably died within the last 5-6 years. And here's some here, and there's a few others. And that's the other thing to look at, is the lack of plasma fire. Nowhere else around here does any plasma fire burn signatures exist. Here, and a couple other places. That's how sporadic it is. That's how you know it's not directed energy weapon. Geomagnetic induction, and what I theorize and believe is the same electricity that I refer to with the word geomagnetic induction, like a natural phenomenon of the earth, is the energy that can be tapped into and directed with these weapon systems. Fine line. Look how thin it is compared to my fingernail. That's a razor fine line between burn and unburn. I'll try and hold the camera still and let the plasma fire speak for itself here for a minute. One little strip right here. So what I was saying before about them being plugged into the ground, I don't know if this is just one piece that ends right there, or if it goes down into the ground right there and is an actual tree. I think that's just a piece that's laying there on the ground. Fire doesn't do this. And it's flameless fire, otherwise it would catch the rest of the tree on fire. Oh, I don't want to get my feet wet here. Fine line between burn and unburn. And it's charcoal. It seems like it's zoomed in. Oh, I'm stepping in the swamp, taking one for the team. See how it's charcoal clear up in there? But it's unburnt all around it. There's the unburned line right here. You can see another one right there. Unburned line right there. And one right here between the outer bark and the inner wood. Notice how fine the line is and how it stops at the inner wood, the core wood. And doesn't burn the bark. Man, I wish I could back up a little easier. But we got swamp right here. See, it's all swamp right here. Now let's go back and look at it from the other side so you can get an idea what you're looking at. That's where I just was, standing at the bottom, falling in the mud, looking up at the tree that's got the charcoal and the unburned wood right next to each other. So if that whole thing burned like that, it must have burned somewhat flamelessly, or the flames would have caught the rest of the tree on fire. Let's go check out some more of the spring and hunt up some plasma fire. Here's a rope swing from back when kids actually used to play outside. So from here, I'm just going to show you the spring a little bit more as we go down. Awesome place to find. It looks like they're building a school right across the street, so hopefully they don't destroy this and just fence it off or something. Alright, I'm plasma hunting. This is approximately the path I took yesterday, and like I said, I've only been in here for about 15 minutes. And I found those two pieces of plasma fire I just showed you. And there's a couple more here and there. It looks like that might be some over there. Pretty sure I can spot me some plasma firewood from a mile away. And how the hell does one piece end up right here? Charcoal. I presume it burned right there where it sits. It didn't burn somewhere else and someone moved it here. All of these others burned right where they are. So this one's got some charcoal here. This piece on the ground has got charcoal here. That one's got charcoal. That one's got charcoal. And the fact that these are just random burn patterns, like there's ambient ground electricity that's coming up through the ground, and somehow it randomly chooses different pieces and somehow burns just those. Like microwave radio frequency, and the radio waves hit one spot and dodge the other. Notice you got unburned here and here and here and here and here, like a cow, right? Like the splotches on a cow, like the pattern of it's fractal burning, Lichtenberg burning, but just in a natural, uncontrolled form of it. So this one, I can see a few spots here and there, and the whole underside of this is charcoal. In fact, most of these pieces around here are charcoal. So you got a little here, See how intermittent it is, but that it's all through there. And this tree used to be this whole thing. That was all one giant tree, and now it's hollowed out in the middle and flopped this way. And what we're looking at when we go around this way is the inside. Ooh! Another piece of charcoal wood as we come in. Just laying there in the leaves. I've seen big pieces of wood like this, charcoaled like that, with leaves like that around them. Flameless. Forest fire. I've not just seen this, I've made videos where I dig the piece up. I can see a piece and the grass is all grown around it, and it's got a 1-inch impression into the dirt, so you know that this piece of wood's been here for years because it's impressed down into the ground with overgrown grass all around it. And I dig it out on camera from all the unburned grass around it. A large piece of wood turning to charcoal with all the unburned, highly flammable grass all around it. So this is the inside of one giant tree. There's a point to this, that it was a huge tree. So you have this whole tree trunk going that direction, this tree trunk coming this direction. Maybe it'd be better if I stood in the middle. But look how giant this thing was. This was a giant tree, and thus the roots go way down into the ground, and thus this was at least 100, if not a few hundred years old. That's the middle of the whole tree. And it's got trees going in every direction. This one that goes out that way. This one that goes out that way. There's another one over here pointing that direction. This thing was giant. And all over in the middle, this part that leans over right here is all charcoal underneath. I've got my light, I might have to break it out. Right? And then you've just got the sporadic burning like this. All of that on the inside is charcoal. All of this up here is charcoal. This isn't mold. A lot of the time when people see black on the wood, they think mold. It's charcoal, all of it. All right, and this is the Mondo plasma tree. Whoa, ow. Yeah, this thing's so big I can't even film it. Here's another giant limb from it that goes clear out there. This had to be a 300 to 500 year old tree that died within the last 5 or 10 years, however long the plasma fire's been going, and it burned flamelessly. This is like the banyan tree right here, at the middle of this spring. For some reason, my camera seems like it's like permanently zoomed in. That is all one tree, with all the limbs pointing in all the directions. Each one of the limbs is a giant tree. And so here's the spring. Pretty sweet, fresh, clean water. And it's starting to rain. You can see the raindrops hitting on the pond or on the stream. Yeah, this is way sweet. Really clean water. If need be, wouldn't take much to get this drinkable. And I'm super stoked because my nightly walk looks like what's going to include frogs. Look how clear that is. Because of all the lily pad stuff I see all over, I presume there's going to be some ribbiting going on. looks like frog heaven, though. And it goes out there. Ribbit. So it flows out of that pond that's springing up right in the middle of those giant trees on down here. It's a pretty good sized river coming out of that little hole in the ground. And then it goes on down there. I haven't been past right here, but I'm pretty impressed at what a good sized stream it is, how clean it is. Not that I look forward to living at any time when you'd actually have to start boiling your own water and fetching it from the spring. But this is within 10 minutes walking distance of where I live right now, and that was my point earlier, is that I just kind of stumble upon this stuff. There's almost nowhere I can go without running into it. I've shown 4, 5, 6 other places right here in Heber within 10 minutes walking distance of where I live. But this one's the best by far. So here we are back at the tree that got super plasma fired right from the middle. And I was just thinking about how this whole place must have been a mecca. This is like the head of the spring right here. For it basically had its own ecosystem of birds and deer and rabbits and squirrels and Native Americans that came here before the early Mormon settlers. Along with the early Mormon settlers, they all came here. I'm looking for a way across that barbed wire fence. So here I hopped up on the old plasma fired tree. You can see all the trees, the bases that all came together right here. And this is the head of the spring, and my point was this tree and this spring have been here for hundreds of years, I would guess. Just by the sheer size of these. And it disappeared within the last few years due to plasma fire. That's kind of a big deal. But finders keepers, losers weepers, man. Look how clear that water is. You can see right through it. Oh, and I figure this had to have happened maybe at least a few years ago, because this part's already kind of turned into sawdust and deteriorating like rotting wood. So maybe this has been dead longer than I think. But I'm thinking it's been the last 5 to 7 years because so many other trees. Looks like we might have a beaver or something right here. Something built. That's a human-made thing, I think. That's a small bridge. It's not a beaver dam. That's a bridge. I don't know. Oh, that's where we came in at. That piece of wood right there is the first piece of wood we looked at that had that weird burn on it. Anyway, I'm just exploring here now. I just can't get over how massive this tree was. This is just one of the limbs, and it's probably got 15 that are this big sticking out of this one central part right here that has all the leaves down in there now. That was all the center of one tree. It burned from the center out, and that's why it's burned mostly right here. That was the center of all these trees that are freaking huge. Look how big this tree is right here. This tree right here, compared to my foot. These are like the size of redwoods. They don't get this big because it had that spring constantly feeding it. Yes, it was huge because of that. We'll go look at it from the street one more time and call it a video. So that's Main Street here in Heber. Here's the grove of trees with a street in the frame, give you a size reference. Up here is the head of the spring. Out here is where it flows over to the river, probably Provo River, and goes down that way. Pretty much all one tree. It all pretty much taps into the same central taproot. I'll just go ahead and strike that last comment from the record now, as I'm a plasmologist, not a treeologist, and I'm sure someone will be quick to correct me in the comments section. Let's keep the conversation on the plasma fire. I have no idea how much of that tree comes together underground in the root system.